Hey, everybody, we are back for a part two. Last time we were here on the episode of Only God Could Judge Me, we had to come back for a part two because we were knee deep in the dialogue and conversation and trying to develop understanding, and we needed more time. And so we brought our guest, our local attorney here, our national attorney, our former judge. We have Leticia Estacio back with us today, and we're going to dig back into Only God Could Judge Me Part 2. Now, we left off in an interesting place, so you got to go listen to that first episode as you will definitely gain a lot of understanding, a lot of insight, learning what her gutter to greatness is in the process. And she goes into detail and discusses it. But we left off where Leticia was actually going through some hardships, and she was going through those hardships and decided she needed a break. She went to Thailand to clear her mind and take a break against some people's orders. And I don't believe she was supposed to go there, but she said, you know what? 2 peas in a bucket. I'm going anyways. And I'm going to Thailand and I'm going to be good. And she is telling that story and she left off there. So Leticia, can you walk us back through? Let's say hi to everybody first. Welcome back. Thank you. I know you were just saying to me that you were a little under the weather, but you are back with us, and we are so glad to have you. How's things going?
Can you hear me? I think I'm frozen.
I can hear you. I can't see you, but we're gonna keep going.
I just wanted to make sure you could actually hear me. Okay.
Yep, I can hear you, and we are good. And hopefully, you I don't know what you and some of our folks with this cricket internet or whatever y'all be having. But yeah, you are frozen. So at least it's a cute frozen shot. Hopefully it'll come back in. But until then, talk to us because, for our audio folks, tell me about where we left off. Walk us back through just a little bit. Give it a little.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk us back because I want to correct you. So I want to clarify.
Please correct me.
I had no restrictions on my ability to travel at all whatsoever.
Okay.
I literally not allowed to go to work. I had been prohibited from reporting to the Hall of Justice in any capacity. I had no court dates. I was not on probation. I was not allowed to go to the Hall of Justice. I was literally sitting at home every day from November to May in my house all day, just depressed and like freaking out, begging to go back to work, begging to go to treatment, begging somebody to listen to me and saying like, I'm super depressed, guys. Like, this isn't good for me to sit here all day and feel like my life is falling apart. And in May, it was my birthday. And I was like, I'm not going to sit here and keep being super miserable. Why don't I go on vacation? I've got 3 more months until this is over. I can't go to work anyway. Why am I sitting in the house in Rochester where people are taking pictures of me and posting me to the news media and sitting on my porch and trying to disparage me and trying to actively get me arrested? Why don't I leave this crazy mess until it's over? So I went to Thailand to try to escape it, but I was totally allowed to go to Thailand. When the judge found out that I was in Thailand, he got upset because he felt like I shouldn't have done that while I had this pending. He felt like I was a judge. I shouldn't be on vacation while I was employed by the taxpayers. He had his own personal feelings. And there was a portion of my conditional discharge that allowed him to say I had to submit to random drug testing at any time. So he used that portion to say, I want her to take a drug test right now. And he said on Friday, at approximately 5 o'clock in the afternoon, she has to take this drug test by Tuesday at 9:30 in the morning, or she has to be in court. Well, it was Friday in Rochester. It was already Saturday in Thailand. Monday was a holiday. So there was absolutely no way that I could have done what he ordered me to do. All I had to do was come home. That was the only choice I had, was to come home. And I didn't feel like he could legally order me to come home. So I called my attorney and I was like, this is crazy. I'm not ready to come home. This is like 2 days notice. And I don't, that's going to be incredibly expensive. I don't have a return ticket. Tell him to give me a week. I already had things planned. I've already paid for my stay here. And he said no, and I didn't come home. So he issued a warrant.
Wow. What's crazy to me is that it just, with the whole story, it just seems so inequitable, so unfair. And it seems like the system that you were a part of and you were working to do something differently. It's so crazy, because what I believe is that you were there to 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 help make changes in the system, and then the system is holding things against you. And for me, it's so confusing and it's so upsetting, because as a judge, you were a judge. You held one of the highest positions in this country, and there was nothing that could be done about it. Now, I just want to think about it for all our listeners out there. And I know that there's probably a lot of people who are out there and are like, wow, if this judge and this attorney goes through this, what the hell am I going to go through? And going through that and feeling like there's no way out, and that there's nothing you can do, and there's no one that can help you. And that's hard. That's extremely difficult. As I was saying, this whole piece is extremely difficult. And it's got to be difficult for people, because you were this highly, recognized public figure who was an attorney, was a judge, and if it's affecting you, my God, how do you think it's affecting the regular people? And I know you were you thought about this and made a comparison to a song. What was the song that you were making a comparison with this to?
So there's a Kanye West lyric. He says, even if you're in a Benz, you still an N-word in a coupe. It doesn't change your standing. And it was very loud to me that irrespective of the level of education that I attained, irrespective of the systemic and socioeconomic and disparate barriers that I had to overcome in my life just by being born, it didn't matter. It didn't change. It didn't matter how far I had come. It didn't matter how much I had accomplished. It didn't matter what level of achievement I had attained. It didn't change who I was at my core. I couldn't out-educate that. I couldn't outlearn that. And it was really hard to come to that realization. Not that I didn't always know that I was a Black woman. I certainly did, but I didn't think that it would always be used against me to try to knock me down a peg or to show me that I couldn't have an equal standing in society. And that's how I felt. I also felt like, if you'll do this to me when the entire world is watching, what do you normally do to these Black men that nobody cares about, that don't have family, that no one is watching, that can just disappear into the night and never be seen or heard from again? I mean, think about the situation with the grave in Mississippi behind the police precinct, where they're finding all of these unmarked graves with buried people that just had disappeared. It's scary when you think about the amount of power that the government has in some instances to just make decisions. So that was really, really hard for me to swallow, because I had worked my whole life and defied the odds, had grown up in situations where people knew me, and everybody kind of knew. They're like, wow, you were always kind of a nerd. You never really went out. You never really had fun. You did the right thing. And now look at you. And then it was like, wow, look at you. You were a part of the system, and look, it doesn't matter. They'll always treat you like this. That was really hard to try to continue to tell people, no, still vote, still believe in democracy, still believe in the. Did I freeze again?
No, I'm here. No, I think we both froze, and so for all those people listening, we're both having internet difficulties, but we're going to continue to push through this and appreciate people's patience who are watching us and listening to us. And I guess my thought though is, Leticia, is so. It's so confusing that this could be allowed to happen to somebody, and that they were so out to get you, and I know, like, your constituents, like, it almost seems like they were trying to make a point with you, and they were trying to prove a point, and they're trying to teach you something, And I recently had an interview, and I had Dr. Leslie Meyer Smalls on my show, and so her and I were chopping it up, and she was also sharing like some of her experience on how she had risen to the top and how she had had a pretty fast trajectory with her career, and that she's always been really successful. And then she got to the RCSD, and she really talked about how difficult and how the struggles were, and how she felt like everybody was trying to set her up, or there were so many factors and things against her as a Black woman, that it created trauma for her. It created trauma for her that she's in a much better place, but she's still working through because of how people treat especially Black women in leadership and Black men in leadership, but we're talking about Black women specifically right now. And that, it's almost like you're never above what anybody could face. And I think sometimes less like everyday people might say, oh, she's an attorney, she's a judge, she's good, or she's a superintendent, like she's good, they don't have to worry about what I got to worry about, and it's crazy, because no matter how high you climb, you still have to worry about things, and it's got to feel. What feelings did you go through while all this was happening?
I think that one thing that people fail to realize when it comes to, and I'll speak for Black women because that's my own personal plight. When it comes to Black women who are successful, number one, we have this difficulty on both sides. Women cannot be assertive, or they're seen as aggressive. Women cannot advocate for themselves, or they're seen as bitchy and pushy and controlling and man-like. And you know what I mean? So, and Black women in particular come with this stigma of angry Black woman. So you should be very careful to smile and be pleasant and be happy. There's actually a woman who recently committed suicide, and they're calling for the dean of the school to resign because she essentially said that she was bullied and she dealt with microaggressions. And we're seeing all the studies about Black women who deal with microaggressions at work. Smile, go out with your coworkers, be friends when we're not friends. That was incredibly difficult. But when you are a successful Black person, you also deal with the Black community judging you harshly, and
you sold out, right?
And questioning the content of your Blackness. How Black are you really? Let's measure your skin tone plus your hair texture minus how long you were in the ghetto, and there's like some secret formula for your Blackness. So it's annoying and frustrating because you don't have an ally. You know what I mean? Black people are quick to be like, that's what you get for being a judge and trying to send us all to jail and thinking you was white. And now and it's like, you don't know anything about me or why I went to law school or what kind of judge I was, but you've decided. You don't know how many people I've had come and be like, yeah, you sent me to prison. I was a city court judge. I couldn't sentence anyone to anything more than a year. And I never sentenced anyone to a year. I didn't have the authority to send people to prison. Right. But people have written me or have been so upset with me for sending their loved ones to prison. It's just like the insanity that you have to deal with when you are just dealing with something that's popular from every race, because people want to be a part of what's like big news, right? But then also you get it from every side. You get the crazy racists who are furious that you have a good job and that they don't care that you have significantly more education than them. People be like, how did she become a judge? I'm like, well, first I went to law school. You're not qualified right there. You know what I mean? Like, you're so perplexed. It's not very difficult. They lay out the process by which you become a judge. You don't meet the mark. That's why you can't do it. It's not because of affirmative action. It's not because of any of those other things. So that was difficult. And also I knew that I wasn't the judge's judge. I knew that they didn't like me from the outset. One thing that was very helpful to me, because initially I took it incredibly personally, was they were not punishing Leticia Estacio specifically. They were punishing every Black or brown person who was from the wrong side of the tracks, who had been disenfranchised, who had the audacity to think that they could get an education, go to school, work hard, pull themselves up by their proverbial bootstraps, and eventually outrun their past. They were spitting on anybody who thought they could change their life. They were showing everyone how quickly they could fall from grace, how quickly it could be yanked back from them. Once I realized that it wasn't about me as an individual, but about a race. To me, it was about all the young girls in Rochester that were coming up. Like, to me, this isn't about us as individuals, right? This is about the fact that we as Black and brown people can read now, can go to college now, and we are at an alarming rate. We're getting elected. We're becoming the president. We're becoming the superintendent. We're becoming the judge. They are terrified. And this is way more powerful than anything we could have done individually. And so I believe, like you said, you were talking about other people that have been attacked specifically in Rochester. I believe the push is to actively attack people who have the audacity to seek positions of power so that other people behind them don't come up. This is the slavery mentality just being reused and reused. You get the slave who has the audacity to run away. You get the one who says, come on, let's uprising. Take him out and you beat the crap out of him in front of everybody.
And that's why we got to keep doing our parts to change this. And so, just continue to dig into the story. So I know you came back when you came back from Thailand. So when you went to go see the judge, what happened? So you got back from Thailand and what happened?
I came back from Thailand. Like I said, I didn't come when he told me to. I said, that's not enough notice. That's illegal. He has to give me 7 days notice to tell me to come to court. He can't give me no days notice. That's literally illegal. So I don't have to come. I'll come next week. The administrative judge, who was my boss, essentially, he was the administrative judge for the district, wrote a letter and said, we're changing the rules about your work. We're changing the rules about you reporting to work. You are required to report to work effective Monday at 9:30 a.m. or you'll be terminated and it will be considered insubordination that you didn't come. So I did not go to court. I went to work because he changed my orders and demanded that I report. And I was like, can they do that? And this is what happened the whole time. They used my job to control me in the criminal justice system because they weren't using the law. And I contacted my attorney and my attorney was like, Leticia, if you don't go, they're going to say that you abandoned your job. They can say for you to go to work every day. And I'm like, they've told me I wasn't allowed to go to work since November. Now they know I'm in Thailand and they can tell me I have to come home with no notice. He's like, if you don't come home, you are probably going to lose your job. So I tell Ed, my lawyer, hey, I'm going to come home, tell the judge to rescind the warrant. The judge says no. Fly home with an open warrant from Thailand and take your chances. Maybe you'll get detained in a Thai jail. Maybe you won't.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
So now you get back.
I come home. I don't get arrested. There's a warrant for my arrest. The news reports that I'm home. I don't get arrested. I call my lawyer. I'm like, I'm just going to turn myself in on Monday after the meeting. Okay. He's like, yeah, nobody expects you to turn yourself in. That's crazy. I go to the meeting on Monday with my boss at court.
All right.
The meeting is over. I get up to leave and there's RPD sitting in the hallway. My boss called them before the meeting so that they could arrest me. Then and they're not even allowed back there. Like, this is the judicial hallway. It's only for judges. Police are not allowed back there. The police are back there waiting in front of his chambers. They arrest me, they handcuff me, and they walk me out. And the media is there already. They know that I'm getting arrested. I'm the only person that doesn't know. All the cameras are there, and that is my perp walk of shame. I'm like, okay, whatever. They take me to jail. They don't even put me in jail clothes. They're like, you're getting right out. This is so stupid. They're just trying to humiliate you. This is the deputies, right? I'm like, okay, whatever. I go to court and the judge tells me that he's holding me without bail. He tells me that he expected me to turn myself in and to go to jail on Friday when I came back to the country, that he waited all night for me to turn myself in so he could go in and arraign me and release me. But I didn't turn myself in, so he was going to hold me. And I could plead guilty and do 2 years probation and like 45 days in jail, or I could have a hearing and I would probably do jail time. And I was like, no, this is crazy. You guys are not following the law. You're doing whatever you want to do. Just let's go ahead and give me jail time and get this over with. I don't want to be, because again, remember, by the time this happens, it's June. My conditional discharge is over in August. Right. This is almost over. Why would I extend this for 3 more years? All I've said the whole time is let's get it over with.
Right.
We have a hearing. The judge finds that I violated my probation. He never really says how. He says essentially that I didn't have permission. He says that he looked at the handbook and that judges are only allowed 14 days of vacation. and that I was on vacation for a month, which is not allowed under the rules. So there was no way that I could be out of the country for that long. And I should have told my lawyer. There literally is absolutely no legal basis at all whatsoever for this violation. There's none.
Right.
There's none. But then I went to jail.
And so you get to jail. So so you're someone that I would believe probably, even though you understand what jail was, because you, from an attorney's perspective, you understand what jail looks like and what it is. But I would also, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would probably say that in most cases, there's a little bit of bouginess that in the sense of where Leticia probably likes things a certain way. You probably like certain comforts. You are probably not one who wants a hot in a cot. And
no, I would not be the one to go to jail ever. Ever.
So, so kind of the quickly what. Okay, so you were walking in those doors the first day, and what was going through your mind and heart outside of being angry and upset? Like, what was it? What were the feelings like? And what did it like? Walk us through that day. So that day, so you turned yourself in and you had to go to jail, and you went for how long?
The first time I went, I went for 45 days, I think.
Right. And so what was that like? Because for someone who had never been to jail and really don't get down like that, because you're not living like that, you're probably accustomed to some levels of comfort.
Honestly, jail was not horrible for me. I was never nasty as a judge. I was never nasty as a prosecutor or defense attorney. So the people in there were familiar with me and actually liked me and had a lot of respect for me from the beginning in terms of inmates. Also, I was never nasty to my deputies. So the deputies really liked me a lot too, which became an issue. They wouldn't let me stay in jail in Monroe County because they felt like I was getting preferential treatment. So they kept moving me to Livingston County. And in Monroe County, I did. Like, for example, in jail, the toilet has the sink directly behind it. It's attached to like where you would normally put your little thing to put the bleach in. Right. There's a sink right there. And I'm not drinking that. I'm not drinking toilet water. They're like, Mrs. Estacio, it's a different, I'm like, I'm not drinking toilet water. And they thought that I was lying. And then like a few days in, they're like, she's really not drinking any water. So they would come and bring me Gatorade because I wasn't. Like, I would have just died. I'm not going to do it. I'm very stubborn, like too stubborn. Things like that. They don't have, MCJ is dirty. Oh my God, it's so dirty. And when like, again, I was a judge. I know how dirty it is. I know that there are certain defendants who are absolutely insane, who get taken into custody and they use toilet paper and their own fecal matter to line the entire cell for their privacy.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
I know how dirty these cells are, and they don't even have a cleaning cart. Like, you don't get a mop, you don't get a broom, they went and got me a new mattress. They went and got me new blankets. They were kind to me. They were kinder than normal, and they did not want me to be treated well. The point of this was to break me, but it was to break me, like I said, not just for me. It was because I had accidentally developed this following from the very beginning. And they wanted all of these people to feel as disenfranchised as they always had. They knew when I ran that people who had never voted registered to vote for me. And they wanted an opportunity to cut these people's hope off right at the quick. You know what I mean?
So so that first 45 days, what did you learn about yourself in those first 45 days?
I learned that I could get along with almost anybody. I also learned that irrespective of what I'd like to believe, and this is something I still struggle with, I am very much a leader. One of the reasons that I left MCJ was because they said that I was a threat to the safety of the jail because people would listen to me and would follow me. And when I went to Livingston, I could not stay in a cell for the same exact reason. The girls would get attached to me and they would look to me and they would get a voice, and they said that it was not conducive to structure of a jail to have me in the same environment for too long. And I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Like, we're not going to overthrow the jail. We're not having an uprising. You know what I mean? But I would be able to influence the girls very easily. And they would just, it was very annoying for me. You're not supposed to keep moving. You know, you kind of get settled in. Like when I went to jail the last time, I was there for like 3 or 4 months. You're not supposed to move every month. But it was very interesting. I learned that. And I learned that I am probably literally the strongest person that I've ever met in my life. And I don't wear that as a badge. I don't want to be the strongest person, right? I want to be the sweetest, softest, nicest person. But I was amazed by what I was able to endure in jail. I'm still amazed some days when I look back and I'm like, wow, I got a thing today. And it was me going to get my nails done when I came home from jail 4 years ago. Like, I can't believe I went to jail. Like, that's so not my life.
What was the craziest thing you saw while you were in there?
Somebody OD'd and died. I didn't actually see that, but one of the guys overdosed while we were there. And it was really interesting because we were like just about to eat breakfast or something. And then next thing you know, we all got locked into cells. Nobody said anything to us. And we were there for all day. And it was like, it's so crazy how you can just like take people in. Like one time we had a guy who was like smoking meth and the alarms went off and we were locked in our dorm. And so it's like 6 or 7 girls in a room and the alarm is blaring and you know it's not a false alarm because they're not coming to get you to take you out. It's just going off. And I'm like, I'm gonna die.
How the hell? Because I've seen rooms, like I've spoken at some jails and some other things like that. I've seen the rooms where like 6 or 7 people are in a room and the room is usually about a cell size, maybe a tad bigger than a normal cell. But I've seen like these people packed in this room. And so how the hell does 6 women get along in a room that is 10 by 12? I don't know if that's
you don't. I got into, well, I didn't get into any fights, but I almost got into a few fights. The benefit that I had was that everybody was kind of afraid of me. I was the only person like from the city and they just didn't know how to take me because they're like, this lady talks like she's white, but she's like so ghetto. We don't know. They were so confused.
right.
And I didn't have problems with anybody. I get along with everybody, but they like to use the N-word. And I was the only Black person there. And that did not sit well with me. I did not appreciate it. And I felt very disrespected. So that was the only thing I ever had beef with anybody over. They all had Black baby fathers and they all felt like I was being extra. They weren't, you know, they didn't mean it like that. And I was like, nah, I don't care. Not here.
Nah, I know it's still not right. But even like I'm thinking even down to people listening, like, okay, so I'm one who I don't like to take a poop in front of you.
Oh, you don't have to you get a little wall. It comes from about right here.
But everybody's in there. There's 6 or 7 people in there stinking it up. And all these women who I'm sure, and not even to be misogynistic, but they all got their menstrual cycles. They all got all
come on at the same time. You know, we link up like Bluetooth. We link up. So now everybody in the pod has their period at the same time. And everybody's just on pins and needles. Oh, you know what? I had a story. You said the most interesting thing.
Right.
First time I was in jail, I was in ICE. And these were immigration.
Okay.
It's women who had come from Africa or from Dominican Republic. And most of them actually had visas, but they had, let's say, tried to go to Canada. And I didn't know this, but you can't go to Canada on a visa to America. So when they go, they don't know. They show their visa. And rather than saying, hey, you're not allowed here, they arrest them and put them in federal custody. I didn't know this. Well, I was in custody with the ICE girls and I absolutely loved them. They made being in jail as pleasurable as it possibly could have been. I'm not even going to, oh my God. It was like family. They were so sweet. They were so kind. They all needed help. They were so grateful for the help. And I didn't realize this, but because they were housed in Livingston County, they had been getting treated like trash. The women there, because it was a women's facility, the side that I was on, had been calling them immigrants and calling them slaves and saying all types of horrible things to them because they couldn't do anything. If they got in any trouble in the jail, they'd get deported immediately. So the women there were being horrible to them, trying to like make them wash their clothes and do things for them in the jail. And And it was like they were being so nasty to them. And there was one lady in my cell, and she was like super nasty all the time. She acted like she was so gangster, and they let her do whatever she wanted to. And there was another lady who was from Africa, and she found out one day she had just had too much. She was like, "That's it, deport me. Just deport me, send me home. If you give up and you say you'll get deported, they buy you a ticket. You know, it's super expensive, a ticket to Africa." So they were buying her a ticket. They had to process her. It takes like a week. Well, she came back and she was, talking about how she was kind of sad. She was going back to Africa. And the girl, Kay, the ghetto white girl, I don't know what Kay said to her, man. But that African girl jumped up and she was like, "I let you slide because I want to be in your country. I'm going home. I will rip your throat open with my bare hands."
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And she was not, look, I do not kid you for 1 second. She was not joking. This was not like, you know how people talk junk and they're just talking. She was just making an announcement as she was moving towards Kay to kill her. So we all like grabbed her and put her in her cell. Like, girl, you're not going to get deported if you murder her. But it's so funny because Kay will always pop off and pop off and pop off. Kay took her ass to sleep. She went and laid down.
Yeah, she knew what she was up against. She done came up against Black Panther.
She didn't say nothing else till the next day.
So I've heard you reference and say, so the first time, and so you got out after 45 days. So how did you end up back incarcerated a second time?
Oh my goodness. It was inevitable. I actually asked not to be released from jail. I was like, no, I get it now. You guys are going to put me in jail whenever you want to. And I'd really rather you not. Just give me a straight term of incarceration, please. I don't want to be on probation. Just, I can do a year. Give me a year. And the judge said no, which is hilarious because you can't refuse probation. You know what I mean? Because if I don't go, then I violate it. You're going to give me, the judge said no. And I, again, was not going to go. I was like, I know the law. I'm not going to do this. And my attorney was like, you're going to lose your job. They're going to say, what judge won't comply with the judge's order? What judge would refuse probation? You're good. So I'm like, I'm allowed to do this legally. You know what I mean? Like, I know the law, but I really didn't want to lose my job. So I went to probation, even though I wasn't given terms and conditions of probation. And when I went to probation, I was talking to my probation officer and I was like, I'm going to end up going back to jail. I know this judge. I know what's happening. Like, can we please just do it right now? Nope. A long story short, and it can't be short because I get violated 9 million times, but I end up with this scram bracelet on, and the scram bracelet says that I consume alcohol. So I go to probation and he's like, did you drink this weekend? And I'm like, absolutely not. And he's like, it said you were a 0.27, you were super drunk, and I'm like, no, I didn't drink any alcohol. I have no idea what it could have been. I think I was just a 0.08 actually. I'm like, no, I didn't. So I'm racking my brain and I figure out I had on this foot peel. So I do this test and I show the foot peel and I show probation. I go in, lo and behold, that's what it is. The foot peel like dripped on the thing. And I'm a 0.27 when I get to probation with the monitor on. I have the foot peel. They test it. Probation's like, okay, I don't know how, but you proved that you weren't drinking. Like, it's impossible to do, but you did it. Great job. We're not going to violate you, but I'm going to tell the judge. I said, if you tell the judge, I'm going to go to jail. I already know I told you, like, the point's for me to go back to jail. Long story short, I end up going back to jail. There is a litany of violations that come, violation after violation after violation, and they just don't stop until I'm removed from the bench. When I'm removed from the bench, the violations stop. Most of the violations get dismissed. I think all of them get dismissed except for the one that I pled guilty to and the one when I left the country. I keep getting arrested, but they keep getting dismissed. But it doesn't matter. I keep going to jail. I keep getting arrested.
That's really was the point then. They really wanted you removed from the bench.
Right.
And once you remove from the bench, no harm, no foul. You're not in our world anymore. We don't have to keep treating you this way.
Once, and before I got removed, actually, the final straw was when I got arrested in April for the gun charge, the felony gun charge. Then I think they thought, oh, we really have her now. If I'm a felon, I can't even be a lawyer. Well, that was
felony gun charge. You can't just skip by that. How did you get arrested for? She said, I was arrested for a felony gun charge, and just keeps talking, everybody. Come on. Like, okay, so how were you arrested for? What happened with that?
In April, there was a law passed, and all of the judges in New York State got a raise. It was very, very big news that I got a raise. It was published all over Rochester that I hadn't worked because remember, I wasn't allowed to go to work in April. It was all over the news that I hadn't worked, but I got this raise for $15,000. And as usual, all of the racist hate groups started up and they were like talking about me and how I didn't deserve this raise and how I was stealing from the taxpayers. And which has been a constant theme. And they published my address again, because remember, the media had published my address. And there was one guy in particular who's like, this is where she lives. I'm going to go get my $17,000 out of her later tonight. You know, she's a single mom, blah, blah, blah.
That's crazy.
Totally freaked out. I knew that even though I didn't have a pistol permit, it was not illegal for me to own a shotgun. I went to Dick's, and honestly, I was traumatized. When I went to Dick's, the guy was showing me the guns and I started crying. I don't really believe in guns. Most of the people that I love in my family that I've lost to gun violence. I'm kind of scared of guns. I know that's kind of irrational, but I don't really want anything to do with them. And it was traumatic to me to be considering becoming a gun owner over a DWI that I've always said I did. Like, it was crazy to me, the consequences that I was having to deal with over something that I knew was not this big of a deal to anyone else in the world.
So had you, because and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't know the law, anything like you do, but isn't it illegal, even as it's legal to own a shotgun? However, if you are a convicted felon, it's illegal to have even a shotgun in your possession. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay.
I am not a convicted felon.
So it wasn't a felon. So there was no reason that you couldn't have a shotgun then.
No, then I could have a shotgun.
Right, you could. That's what I'm saying is you could. So how could they?
DWI is a misdemeanor.
Right. So if you had a misdemeanor, they would like I'm a little.
Everybody gets confused because of how big it was. They don't think, oh, this is just an unclassified misdemeanor. No, it was a misdemeanor.
Like a parking ticket in some places. Yeah,
right. It wasn't a big deal. It was a misdemeanor. So I was allowed to have a shotgun, and that's why I didn't go try to buy a pistol, because I wasn't allowed to have a pistol. I didn't have a pistol permit, but I went to go inquire about how to buy a shotgun, and the guy said to me, "I think that you should take a class." I think he's like, you're so scared. You don't even want a gun. I think you should take a class. And I said, I know I should, but I think I just need a gun right now. You know, I don't even want the gun. I just want it for protection. I'm scared. And he was like, I'm not comfortable selling you the gun. You're afraid. And I don't want to sell a gun to somebody who's afraid. Said, okay. I left. I went to another Dick's and said, can I buy a gun here? Now there's a form you fill out. I'm just trying to like play with the gun, touch the gun. I don't know if I'm actually going to buy a gun because I'm terrified. I'm literally terrified, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't have a person to show me or to teach me what to do. You know what I mean? I don't want to shoot myself. While I'm at Dick's, they call the police on me.
This is crazy.
Because they decide that I am not allowed to have a gun. I'm not allowed to have a shotgun. In their infinite wisdom, they have decided that they believe that I am a felon, I think. And they also believe that I'm on probation. And they believe that people on probation can't have shotguns. So they call the police on me. The police don't arrest me. They don't say anything to me. They don't let me know at all. And I go on about my business. They pull me over. I think I got a flat, because I'm always getting a flat. I think I got a flat. Yes, right. I did get a flat. And while I'm waiting for a ride, they came and spoke to me. They didn't tell me I was under arrest or even being investigated. They waited, I think, until I went to court one day. No, I was at home, and they called me and told me I was getting arrested for a felony gun charge. They told me that the media was going to be there, and they wanted me to know first.
That's so crazy. The first advice that I'm going to give you is get some run flat tires. So you at least drive it home. So you don't got to deal with that no more. Like, hey, if you don't listen to nothing else, I tell you,
run flat tires. No, I keep a flat. I'm gonna listen to that.
Spend an extra $100 a tire. You got a little change and spend the extra $100 a tire. Get the run flat tires, and so that you can still drive. I think up to about 45 miles an hour on the run flat tires, and you can drive. Not saying that you should continue like that, but it'll get you home so that you're not pulled over anywhere, so nobody can pick you up. So if you listen to Uncle Paulie at all, Uncle Paulie is telling you just go and get some run flat tires, because this is crazy. So obviously this whole thing is a setup. So they charge you with this Does it stick? There's felony gun charge. It doesn't stick, right?
No, the felony gun charge sticks. They bring in another judge from a different county to hear it. And then my attorney is like, this has gone insane. He makes a motion to the fourth department saying this is crazy and they're being totally unfair and I can't get a fair trial here. And I believe for the first time ever, prior to a verdict from a jury, they agree. Then they say, no, she cannot get a fair trial in Rochester. It doesn't matter what this person does. It's very likely that they'll be convicted. Like that people hate her so much. It's ridiculous. Let her move. They move me to Syracuse. The judge there won't dismiss the charges, even though they should be dismissed because it's clear. Like I said, I never fill out the form even to buy the gun. Yeah. How do you attempt to buy a gun if you don't take the first step in filling? So, but the judge won't dismiss the charges because it's too controversial. You know, people have to get reelected. So I literally, day of trial, they say, if you want to plead to a misdemeanor, we'll let you do that and we'll let you continue on probation. But, you know, you're facing losing your law license here. You're looking at, and I was, if I was a felon, I could not be an attorney. So right. I hadn't lost the judgeship yet, I don't think, but we kind of seen, like, once I got arrested for a felony, I was like, oh, they really mean no, they really mean F me. And I was scared, right? I'm like, they're going to convict me of this felony.
Right. It would have.
Power.
Right. They absolutely would have tried to.
Yeah. But so I had to have a trial. I had a jury trial. I had a felony jury trial in Syracuse. And and it's the crazy thing is that the prosecutor who prosecuted me for DWI testified on my behalf because we subpoenaed him. And he came in and he was like, look, we didn't prosecute her for violating probation because her probation doesn't say that she can't have a shotgun. And that's one of the boxes that you check. He didn't check it. It say that. She's not prohibited from owning a shotgun. She's not a felon. There's not proof that I tried to buy a gun, but even if I would have tried to, there was nothing that prevented me from being able to do it. And the prosecutor testified to that. So it was just crazy, but it doesn't matter. You know, you never know what's going to happen. I was terrified.
The jury they found you not guilty?
They found me not guilty. Some of them actually apologized to me.
They should have, and
it wasn't their fault.
I know, but it's a small win. You know, it's a small win. So, you know, they violated you on the misdemeanors. You went back for a second term. You said 3 or 4 months to finish out the stretch that you had to do.
Well, so I just want to be clear. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to take ownership on the final time that I violated probation. When I did months, I went in right before Thanksgiving. That was because I said I'm done. They weren't letting me go see clients in the jail pen. They weren't letting me come through the magnometers. They were making me wait in line. And they said that was because I was a probationer. I couldn't go to the jail because I was on probation. And I was like, I'm done. I stopped going to probation. I told my probation officer I wasn't coming anymore. I told him to violate me. I was spending $200 a month on ignition interlock in my car. I had it in my car for more than 3 years. That's incredibly expensive. I was like, I'm done with this. I lost my job anyway. I'm not even legally sentenced to probation. The only reason I ever complied with probation was to try to keep my job. All you can do is send me to jail for a year. I'll eat your year. I'm done with this. And they thought that I was playing. I wasn't playing. I stopped going to probation. I wrote a motion. They ignored my motion, just totally disregarded it. I said to my probation officer, do you really want me to go to jail? He said, no, jail is not appropriate. It wouldn't be appropriate for them to send you to jail. Right. They didn't talk to my probation officer. I went to court and the judge told me that I thought I was above the law. I did whatever I wanted to. I disgraced the judiciary and she was sick of my bull. And I went in right before Thanksgiving and I didn't get released until after the new year. But that was my own choosing that time.
It makes sense. You had enough. You know, you had enough, and you had been through a lot, and that's a gutter for you.
I would have done that in 2014. I was like, send me to jail in the beginning. You know what I mean? I wanted it over with.
So now you do this this amount of time. You get out, and so what is your healing process and recovery process? So, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, and not to ruin the in between, but I know that now you're currently, you see clients. I know currently you're booked and busy. I know currently that, you know, you every time I see you have a pretty positive outlook on life, and that you are really, you know, all of this could have really soured you to the point where you gave up on life because you lost almost everything that you work for, but you've bounced back, and that's what people need to hear and to see and to know. And so you got out. What did that what was that recovery process? What did that look like?
It was crazy because honestly, I had rebuilt my practice by the time I went in, and I did not expect to go to jail. I was, usually they do what probation recommends. I had done everything that I could have done on probation. I wasn't doing, you know what I mean? I didn't need drug or alcohol treatment. I didn't need to get a job. I didn't need mental health treatment. I was just on probation for them to harass me. So there was no point to continue it. So going to jail was very unexpected. I had a full caseload when I was taken into custody.
Wow.
And all my clients were just kind of stuck. I practiced by myself. So that was difficult. And when I got out, I was like, wow, I'm never going to get clients again. I got a little blackballed. They were like, don't give her cases, don't assign her cases. But I got out and immediately I got clients. The amount of respect that I have from the community is unparalleled. You don't often see people who are who they say in politics. You definitely don't see people who say, okay, what is the punishment? Right. I'll take that. I'll take that punishment. Leave me the F alone. You see people who talk, but they don't actually walk that walk. And people were like, this lady, even my father called me and was like, you got the biggest pair of balls I think I ever seen in my life. He's like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm like, Poppy, I'm tired. He's like, girl, I did not mean to give you this much confidence. And it's not, things are just very black and white for me. It's like, what is the penalty? And if I'm willing to assess it, then leave me alone. And I really believe in that. If I'm willing to eat the penalty, and I got frustrated. And I think I also frustrated people though, right? Because and most people don't know this, but after I got out of jail, they tried to disbar me. They said that I had basically tried to destroy the judiciary and the criminal justice system by telling people that they could subvert probation and refuse a probation sentence. Now, I'm a defense attorney. You can do that. It's totally legal. You can say, no, I don't want probation. What's my straight time? But they said that I had basically done it as an attorney and it was a wrong thing to do. They tried to suspend my license to practice law. And I had to fight that. It was a lot of fighting. And honestly, I am incredibly tired. I still can't go through the bypass the magnometers. They still make me get searched every day when I go to court. Not in the towns, but in the Hall of Justice, yes. And it's frustrating. It is an intentional mark on me to try to break me down. I just try to convince myself every day that, I fight this battle because God knows I'm strong enough to tolerate it. And I can't be too much of a crybaby because so many people have it so much harder than I do.
Right. And I think that, and even when I was talking with Dr. Leslie Myers-Smalls, I feel like there's similarities and parallels to an extent, way different outcomes and things that have occurred and happened. But I think some of the parallels is that you both were so successful. You both have done so many things, so super intelligent, and reached high levels of success. And then God said to you, or allowed these things to happen to you to get your attention, and don't know why. And it's like there's something else that he has planned for you and has planned for her, that he allowed you guys to go through this level of trauma, because this is not a normal story. All right, this is not a normal story. I don't think most people go through this. But it was really, what do you think God was trying to tell you? What do you think God wants for you? And where do you think he's pushing you next because of all of this?
I have always wanted I said this to you before about, being light-skinned with funny hair and then talking like a white girl. And I've always felt very attached to the Black community. I'm Black and Hispanic, but I don't speak Spanish. So I've always identified more as a Black woman. My mother is Black.
Me too.
And I've always had them kind of like doubting me. And it's funny because like this solidified my Black card for perpetuity. Okay. Like if anybody has street cred, it's me. I'm good on any MLK Boulevard. And it was always important to me to get into these spaces to make change. But in our community, you make the most change by being a trusted change agent. And the level of work that I'm able to do as an attorney on a larger scale is so much more amazing because my clients they didn't know my life story. They didn't know my background. They didn't know my parents, but they got to see me suffer on TV and they got to see me go to jail. They're like, yo, my lawyer is a G. Like she 10 toes down. So that is something that I gained, and not just in Rochester, but on a national level. I have respect of the people that actually matter more to me. That sounds kind of horrible, but as a defense attorney, it's more important to me that my clients respect me than that the attorneys I practice against or the judges that are going to sentence them harshly or based on racism. You know what I mean? Like, the judges that matter see what I'm doing and I don't have to worry about them. Of course, I want the respect of judges, but first and foremost, I want the respect of my clients who are also my peers, who are the culture and the people that I'm trying to save. Sometimes from themselves, sometimes from the system. I can't do the work that I want to do if I don't have the trust of my peers. And even if we're not collectively peers in terms of income anymore, this is where I come from. I want to pull these people up with me and teach them that they can transcend this. So I think that it's given me more credibility with a group that I didn't necessarily have the most credibility with because of the way that I talk and the way that I look, but also it's given me a platform that I didn't have, that I didn't even know existed. And it's given me the ability to do things like march with George Floyd or for Daniel Prude and attract attention to these things. And it's given me a voice. And I don't know where that's going exactly, but I'm super, super excited about being able to make change on a larger level. I loved being a judge because of the number of people I was able to impact. In part one, I took in approximately 550 cases. So those 550 lives that I touched and that I was able to change, that I was able to give a chance to and try to assist with. And now, I look at some of my platforms where I have 30,000 followers or 20,000 followers. And it's like, wow, I can impact that many people. That's a much larger message. And I am, aside from my practice, I'm trying to focus on giving content, like I was even saying too, to educate people, because I feel like so often we end up in situations where we're in the criminal justice system and we're clueless. We didn't even know. I talk to my baby sister all the time, and she's the funniest person in the world to me. And I was saying to her the other day, talking about a client, and she's like, my client had a stolen credit card, allegedly, but he didn't steal the credit card. Someone gave it to him and he was using it with that person's permission. And she's like, why is that illegal? And I'm like, well, it's stolen property. She's like, well, how does he know? I'm like, well, there's a presumption under the law that if you have property that's stolen, it's stolen.
Right.
And she's like, no, that's not fair. And I'm like, she's like, what is it? I'm like, it's criminal possession of stolen property. Yeah. And she's like, so that's illegal. It's just a little illegal. I'm like, no, it's a felony.
Right. And even thinking about that, and depending where you're from, you might not ask questions and just look at it as a come up and a blessing and like, oh man, thanks.
Don't look at gift horse in the mouth.
Like, thank you. I'm gonna keep moving and not ask any questions. And just things are set up in such a crazy way. But I think God, is trying to. He continually tries to get your attention and I think you're doing it, and I think He wants you to take what you've been through and use that to create the change that you really want to see and that you can be, and using your voice, but putting your pen to paper, as I know that you've been working on for way too long, and getting stuck. And also, even opportunities like this needs to be out there. This needs to be on this platform, on larger platforms. It needs to be everywhere. And it needs to be told, but also so you can kind of work to change that system from within while you're also helping your clients. And I think there's a bigger purpose for you. And I feel like, and I'm gonna call you out for a second, that you've been, for whatever reason, hesitant or afraid to push towards that larger purpose, when I know it's all over. It's like destined for your life. And what do I know? But I know it's there.
You know what you said? You said, how did you heal? And it's very interesting. I started laughing when you said that, because I did not. I got removed. Actually, in April, I hadn't been removed. I got removed from the bench in October. And they told the media, they called me, that they told the media, they were telling the media, and that's why they called me. So as soon I found out by the phone, and then there was a press release immediately telling me that I was being removed from the bench. And that day, I made a post on Facebook opening the office of Leticia Estacio, opening my law office. Literally that day I started taking clients. I did not heal. I just kept going. I just was like, you can't break me. You can't break me. And that's why I said to you, what I've learned through this process is I'm the strongest person I know, but I don't want to be strong anymore. And so I'm actually actively right now focusing on healing from, because I was like, whatever, I'm fine, whatever, I got to practice, whatever, I got money, whatever, my house is paid for, whatever. And it was not whatever. That broke my heart.
Absolutely. And it hurt you as a person. And
Yeah,
so
and
now I hear that you're working on the healing.
yeah, it
Right.
made
And
people
so
question me as a person, everything I had worked for, and I didn't ever get myself an opportunity to own that. Or it was just like, whatever, whatever. It was very important to me that I present a strong face, that I look stoic, that I be a certain way. Because, you know, Black people, we don't want them to break us. That was the whole point. But internally, that was devastating, and it's still devastating.
right. And so my encouragement is for you to continue healing and working on healing and making it specific for yourself, because you deserve to heal. You deserve to be whole. You deserve to be at peace while you continue to help others. But if you had to, in about 60 seconds or less, if you had to give somebody or 3 key points on someone who is going through it and they need to move from their gutter and shift to their greatness, what would those 3 key points be?
They would all be completely the same. My grandmother used to say, if you're going through hell, keep going. Okay, Dory, my favorite person in the world.
Just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming. Just keep. It is, the time's gonna pass no matter what, right? So just focus on something good every day. Try to find positivity and be grateful. You have to be grateful even in your lowest of times. There's something for you to be grateful for, and when you find something to be grateful for, it multiplies.
Right. No, thank you. And so as I look to close out here, and we think about only God being able to judge you, you know, at the end of the day, God knows, and he knows that what you have and haven't done, and he knows that you may not have deserved, and doesn't sound like you deserved really any of what happened to you, but there was also, you know, God allows things to happen. You know, he sends the strongest challenges to his strongest soldiers. And because he wants us to listen and he wants to push us towards moving into his purpose. And if you weren't trained and weren't ready and you didn't go through the things you went through, you wouldn't be able to do the things that you're going to do. And there's so much on you and on your life. And so the encouragement here is for all those people out there, if you are going through it, make a conscious effort to work on your healing, in touch with those feelings, and then trying to work towards and dealing with those feelings while you actively pursue not giving up and continue walking through what you got to walk through, because there is greatness and there's success on the other side. And so I know that there are so many great opportunities, and this story needs to be out there. This story needs to be everywhere. You need to be able to broadcast this to the world, to put light on the injustices that are out there, but also make sure that other people know that if this can happen to you, it can happen to them, but that you can get through it, and that there's ways to get through it, and then be the change that you want to see and create this change. So, you know, as you walk away from here today, Leticia, my encouragement to you is to you know, make a conscious effort to continue to heal, and make a conscious effort to now do everything you can to not be quiet about this, because they can't take anything else from you. You know, you know, you done did it all, and you are successful. You know, as long as you don't violate certain things, you're going to be good. Just, you know, stop getting flat tires, and get some run flat tires. And on top of getting the run flat tires, you know, get home when you call your roadside service. And other than that, you know, you got an opportunity to change a lot of things, and possibly help change the way that the justice system works by exposing it and showing it by telling your story. So stop holding on to it. Live in confidence, heal, get it out there. And this has been the part 2 of Only God Can Judge Me. And, you know, I just hope that people really listen to this and really learn from it, and take the opportunity to grow and do all the wonderful things that they can do. So until next time, that has been another episode from the Gutter to Greatness. And I thank you all for tuning in, and can't wait till next time.
That's it for today's episode. So head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener that posts a review on iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing for a $25,000 private epic VIP day with Dr. Miller himself. Be sure to head on over to guttertogreatness.com and pick up a free copy of Dr. Miller's gift and join us on the next episode.